Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Good morning and welcome to North Star. Today in this lecture, we are going to start with our second topic of section F, compilation engagement. Very interesting. Second, compilation. No, we are going to start with preparation engagement. Fine. And then we will go on to compilation engagement. Question. Okay. Ruhina, CA, 15 years of experience, joined CPA as my way of dealing with midlife crisis, I guess. I've seen Mudassar since his articleship days, and I believe all of us are here in right hands. Okay, since you mentioned, Ruhina is a very, very special person in this class. She happens to be my first boss, and we know each other for the past quite some time. When I started my articleship, she was my boss, and I think I have a lot to share about her in this class, and I will quite often talk about it. All right, let's jump in and get started. It's a privilege. It's privilege to have her here, and I'm so proud that you trusted me, and I hope that I will be able to stand by your trust. I'm trying. All right, so let's get started with the topic. Hello, everyone. Good morning and welcome to North Star. Today in this lecture, we are going to start with topic 2 of section F, a very important topic, preparation engagement, because this topic will set the tone for a couple of more topics that we are going to cover later today and in our upcoming sessions as well. Let's get started. Preparation engagements. What is this? If you remember, in the last class, we were talking about SSARS engagements, right? Remember, preparation, then compilation, then review, right? These three, exactly. So we are on the first one. We are going to learn it at great length. Once again, the nitty-gritty is the important point that we must remember. What is preparation engagement? What is the objective of it? That you need to remember. The objective of an accountant, like I said, we don't call them auditors, we call them accountant. Auditors because they're not doing audit, right? So the objective of the accountant in a preparation engagement is to prepare financial statement of whom? Non-issuers, because SSARS are applicable only to non-issuers. Non-issuers means those who are not listed, right? In simple words, of course, there's a definition of non-issuers, and we are going to cover that as well. In accordance with specified financial reporting framework. Who needs to decide this? What should be the financial reporting framework? You need to constantly keep answering. Who needs to decide this specified financial reporting framework? So that is, of course, the management. Preparation standards do not apply. You need to know when it does not apply. Naturally, it will not apply when we are talking about audit, or when we are talking about review, or when we are talking about compilation. Because audit, PCAOB will be applicable, or SAS will be applicable. Review standards are applicable under same SSARS, and for compilation, again, compilation standards are applicable under the same SSARS. Solely for submission to tax authorities. So if we are only preparing it for submission to tax authorities, SSARS is not applicable. This is important. I want you to remember. For inclusion in written personal financial plans, this is again important, prepared by the accountant. So if it is applicable for, I'm preparing it for someone's personal financial plans, then SSARS is not applicable, or preparation standards per se are not applicable. In conjunction with litigation service, again, it is not applicable. And last one, business valuation service. So remember, these three are very, very important. I'm sure the first one, you know that, of course, it is not applicable because there are separately, these are separately covered in other standards. An engagement to prepare financial statement is a non-attest service, and does not require determination about whether the accountant is independent. All right, accountant is independent means here for preparation we don't require the accountant if they are independent. If they are not independent, we don't need to look at independence at all, and it is a non-attest service because there's no report that we provide. What are litigation services? Litigation services are basically any kind of disputes that we are fighting. There are certain levels to which a CPA can represent the client for litigation, but beyond a particular level, CPAs cannot represent. There has to be lawyers who can represent the client. But in India also, till certain level, a chartered accountant can represent clients in litigation. Litigation can be with tax authorities. Litigation can be with other authorities as well. So if we are preparing for any litigation, we don't have to, we don't have to comply with SSARS. It's very, it's very simple and plain vanilla. For any legal or any regulatory authority or for any regulatory proceeding or legal proceeding. Understanding within client. Like I said, we cannot start a service, we cannot provide a service unless we have things in black and white, unless we have things in written. Otherwise, tomorrow it may create some kind of a confusion, some kind of a responsibility, which if it is not properly understood, there may be some kind of wrong expectation from the client or from the accountant. And that is why it is important that we have an engagement letter which is written. All right, and before we start the work, this engagement letter ideally should be signed by whom? By the client, right? Exactly. So this basically to have an understanding, all right, to have an understanding that we get a written engagement letter signed. What are the contents, broad contents of the engagement letter? This is very, very, very important. You need to go through engagement letter many, many times. I will make a format of the engagement letter and I will update in the mobile application. I want all of you to constantly go through each line of it. Remember, in one engagement letter, there can be at least 10 to 12 questions that can come, and not just MCQs, even, task-based simulation can also be asked. Multiple questions can be asked only from one engagement letter. So don't ignore it at all. Go through at length. We are not looking at this. We are going to look at the entire engagement letter. All right. So sample engagement letter, very important. You must remember every point of this engagement letter. Every point of this engagement letter you must remember. Appropriate representative of management. So I am directing this to the addressee. Who is the addressee? Any representative of the management who is authorized to sign it. You have requested that we prepare the financial statement of the company, whatever is the name of the company, which comprise. Now we need to identify what are we going to prepare. When we are going through the engagement letter, I want you to constantly ask yourself a number of questions. The more the questions that you ask, the more clarity is going to come. You have to find logic. Why am I asking these questions? Why these things are mentioned in the engagement letter? I will tell you all the answers so that you remember. I want a lot of focus for the next 5 minutes or more, right? Till we complete this engagement letter. You have requested that we prepare a financial statement. Which company? Name of the company is required. Now, financial statement, let's be more specific. What all are covered? Because what may be covered in financial statement depends upon the financial reporting framework. You remember yesterday I told you that in each financial reporting framework there may be number of documents which come as one combined set. Exactly. So that's why we need to identify what are those documents in that financial statements. So which comprise of balance sheet. Okay, fine. Balance sheet for which year? For this particular year. And related statements of income. Okay. Changes in stockholders' equity and cash flows for the year ended, and the related notes to the financial statement. All right. So financial statement we are going to cover for a particular year ended. In US, we follow January to December year end. All right. But it can be different in case we are preparing for a different period. So very quickly, once again, we are preparing financial statement. What are the documents? The stockholders' equity, income statement, the balance sheet, and the statement of cash flow for the year, and also the related notes. Don't miss out notes. I see a lot of students forgetting that, oh, notes are also covered. Yes, notes are also covered. We are pleased to confirm our acceptance and understanding of this engagement to prepare the financial statement of ABC company by means of this letter. Done. Till here, there is nothing remarkable. I'm sure you remember we are talking about financial statement, statement of cash flow. We are talking about notes. We are talking about income statement. We are also talking about changes in stockholders' equity. We are talking about which company, all that is identified. Now, the first thing, sequence has to be understood. What after the first paragraph? So we talk about our responsibilities. All right. Now, what are our responsibilities? Now, this engagement letter is written from whose perspective? Is it written from the company's perspective, or is it written from the accountant's perspective? That is important. Otherwise, whole meaning would change. All right. So you have to understand it is written from the accountant perspective. Company is only signing this engagement letter, but it is prepared by the accountant itself. All right. So our responsibilities. The objective of our engagement is to prepare financial statement. So who is writing this? The accountant has written this. Is to prepare financial statement. Now, how will I prepare financial statement? The way I want it? No. So I'm going to prepare in accordance with the accounting principles generally accepted in the United States. Now, this one I have not decided. This one was decided by the management. I have just written it because I understood that it has to be prepared as per US GAAP. In case it has to be prepared as per any other, I will change this particular line. All right. Of the United States. Like I said, you cannot write as per GAAP because GAPs are many GAPs. In India also, we call it GAAP or we call it Indian GAAP. In US, we call it GAAP again, but US GAAP. In fact, in US, the word GAAP is more popular than in India. In India, we generally refer to as Ind AS. So whenever you are writing about GAAP, you have to also mention the name of the country. Which country's GAAP are you talking about? Based on the information, who provided the information? Very important. You provided me the information. I am not checking the accuracy, the authenticity, the reliability, all that I am not checking. But if it comes to my information, then the entire thing changes. But I'm not checking prima facie. We will conduct our engagement. How will you conduct? You have to mention to me how are you going to conduct. So we are going to conduct our engagement in accordance with SSARS. So you need to remember, where is this reference mentioned? Question has come. Very silly question can come. In which paragraph reference to SSARS is mentioned? Is it mentioned in our responsibility paragraph, or is it mentioned in management's responsibility paragraph? Now, remember, SSARS is applicable to the accountant or to the management. To whom is it applicable? Of course, we remember it is applicable to the accountant, naturally. So it is mentioned in accountant's responsibility paragraph. Question can be that silly. All right. So you cannot miss out. Now, okay, fine. SSARS, who came up with this SSARS? So Accounting and Review Services Committee of the AICPA, all that, and comply with AICPA's professional code of conduct. It is integrity, objectivity, professional competence, and due care. This is okay. So in our responsibility paragraph, what all is covered? I've just covered it so that you do not read it. So in our responsibility, we are making reference to the US GAAP. We are talking about United States. We are talking about SSARS. We are talking about Accounting and Review Services Committee of the AICPA. All right. These are the very important things we are talking about in our engagement, in our responsibilities. We are not required and will not verify the accuracy and or completeness of the information you have provided. Very, very important. We have not required to, and we will not very specifically mention. So if tomorrow, if the books of accounts are not proper, anything is factually incorrect, I am not responsible. All right. So we have stated in our engagement letter that I'm not going to look into the accuracy or completeness. You need to remember these two words. Don't add another set of words from your end. It clearly says accuracy and completeness of the information you provide to us. All right. And otherwise gather evidence. So we are okay, fine. You have provided me something. I don't know, but I'm not also going to gather evidence to reconfirm whether information is accurate or complete. No, I'm not going to do that. That's not my job, because I'm hired only for preparation service for the purpose of expressing an opinion. So are we going to express an opinion? Answer is no. We are not going to gather any evidence for the purpose of expressing any opinion or conclusion. We will talk about opinion and conclusion in a separate topic. Accordingly, we do not express our opinion or conclusion or provide any assurance on the financial statement. Very, very important. This paragraph, I want you to mark very important. All right, mark it very important. A lot of questions can come only from this paragraph. Lots. So again, I will say we have not looked into the accuracy. We have not looked into the completeness. That's not our job. We have not gathered any evidence for expressing an opinion or conclusion. And accordingly, we do not express an opinion or conclusion or provide any assurance. Simple. Opinion, conclusion, assurance are not provided in preparation. They are part of review. They are part of audit. All right. They are part of agreed upon procedures. So we are not doing all of it at all here in preparation. Our engagement cannot be relied upon to identify or disclose any financial statement misstatements. Why is it being specifically mentioned here that our statement cannot be relied upon? Because just in the preceding paragraph, I told that we have not looked into the accuracy or completeness. When we have not looked into, how can you rely on our engagement to ensure that we prepare everything fairly and everything is accurate and complete? No, you can't. Including those caused by fraud or error. So you need to remember, is reference to fraud and error also there in the engagement letter? Answer is yes, it is also there. Or to identify or disclose any wrongdoings within the entity or non-compliance with laws and regulation. So I am not looking at, even if you have not complied with laws, regulation, in preparation, I'm not going to look at it. So I'm making it very, very clear what are my or what are not my responsibilities. I have told what are my responsibilities, and I have also mentioned very clearly what are not my responsibilities. I want you to constantly read this engagement letter multiple times, stressing on each line till it sinks in. I don't want you to go to MCQ questions or task-based simulations and then recollect, oh, did I read it properly? Did I miss this point? And you will get very, very confused, because when you read multiple engagement letters, for example, you are talking about engagement letters in preparation, then we'll read about in compilation, then we'll read about it in reviews, then we'll read about it in audit. And by the time we have read multiple engagement letters, you are going to be highly, highly confused. So ensure that in this topic, you are reading this engagement letter multiple times so that the idea sinks in. All right, and you are never confused. Trust me, you will be very confused by the time you read multiple engagement letters, multiple reports. I don't want that to ever happen. Now, management responsibilities more or less remains very similar throughout. So there will be a lot of duplication here as well. In our responsibility, duplication will be there, but it is constantly going to keep changing. But management responsibilities overall remains quite similar throughout. Let's look at it. The engagement is to be performed is conducted on the basis that management acknowledges and understands that our role is the preparation of the financial statement, because it's a preparation engagement. In accordance with what? In accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in United States of America. Management has the following overall responsibilities that are fundamental to our undertaking this engagement in accordance with SSARS. So here also we have identified to prepare your financial statement. Fine. This is very simple. There's nothing much important in this line. First one, the selection of accounting principles. What accounting principles you are following, that we need to identify. Accounting principles, again, whenever we talk about accounting principles, whenever we talk about GAAP, whenever we talk about gas, we need to identify the country of origin. Fine. So accepted in the United States of America as the financial reporting framework to be applied in the preparation. So who has selected this financial reporting framework? You are the management. That's not my job at all. You selected whatever. I'm going to use that to prepare my financial statement and give it to you. The prevention and detection of fraud. You remember in the our responsibility section, the accountant clearly said that preventing and detecting fraud is not my job. It's your job. So I'm telling the management once again, look at it. It's your job to ensure that the entity complies with laws and regulation. We told we have not looked into non-compliance with laws and regulation because that is your job again. Again, we said that we are not looked into accuracy and completeness of the records that you have presented. Again, that is your job. We have not looked into. So whatever we are telling in the first paragraph that we are not doing all this, we are also telling in the next paragraph that you are going to do all this. It's your responsibility. We are reinforcing that. To provide us with what? With documentation and other related information that is relevant to the preparation of the and presentation of the financial statement, because that's my job. But you need to provide those documents. From where am I going to keep hunting out for it, right? You need to provide me all of these additional information that may be requested. So in case I need additional information, I'm putting in the engagement letter that in case I need, please help me with those additional information, because that may be important for preparation and presentation of financial statement. And unrestricted access to persons. Generally, unrestricted access is required prominently for audit engagements, generally. But here also, I may need them to get some information, because imagine I got to know that there is some fraud. I got to know that there is some inaccuracy. I got to know. In that case, I can't just close my eyes and say, okay, fine. Anyways, that's not my job. I may want to talk to somebody in the company, right? To find out if it is actually incorrect, or maybe I need to gather some more information because I'm already aware that there is something wrong. In that case, I may want to talk to somebody. So that's why I want unrestricted access to people to talk to them. The financial statement will not be accompanied by a report. You remember, I told you it is not an attestation engagement. So there is no report that I am going to be presenting along with the prepared financial statement. However, you agree that the financial statement will clearly indicate that no assurance is provided. Whenever we are talking about, financial statement, you have to always keep in mind that the readers of the financial statement are not CPAs. They are not financially, or they're not extremely financially educated. You have to think that they are very innocent. They need to be spoon-fed. They need to be told everything. Nothing should be implied in their mind. All right. So always keep in mind, auditing will become very, very easy. Think that they are very innocent. They don't remember anything. Even if they know, they don't remember. All right. So keep that in mind. Your understanding will become better while solving questions. So no assurance is provided on them. If the accountant expects to issue a disclaimer instead of the preceding paragraph, the following may be added. As part of our engagement, we will issue a disclaimer that will state that the financial statement were not subject to audit, review, or compilation engagement by us. And accordingly, we do not express an opinion, conclusion, nor provide any assurance. All right, so we may add this paragraph if we are issuing a disclaimer. When do we have to issue a disclaimer? I will talk about it a little later. This is important again. All right, this is important again, but I will talk about it a little later once again, so that's okay. Other relevant information. These are not very, very important paragraph, but other information like what is our fees going to be, we need to agree for that. The accountant may include a language such as following regarding limitations of or other arrangements regarding the liability of the accountant or the entity, such as indemnification of the accountant for liability arising from knowing misrepresentation to the accountants. You can ignore this. This is not very, very important. All right. Just one reading is okay, but not very important. You agree to hold us harmless and to release, indemnify, and defend us from any liability, because I have very clearly mentioned I have not looked into fraud, I have not looked into non-compliance, I have not looked into accuracy or completeness of the financial statement. Now, if anything goes wrong, how can I be responsible? That was not my job at all. And that's why here I'm mentioning it again, that in case something is going wrong, you cannot hold us accountable, because that was anyways not our job. Please sign and return the attached copy of this letter to indicate your acknowledgement and of the agreement with the arrangements for our agreements to prepare the financial statement described here. Whatever we have described, the balance sheet as on particular date, the income statement, the statement of cash flow, the statement of changes in equity, all those we are going to prepare. And our respective responsibilities, signature of the accountant or accountant's firm. You need to know this. Acknowledged and agreed. Name has to be mentioned. Title, the designation has to be mentioned, and the date has to be mentioned, because it is going to be signed by the company or by the management and given to us. We are going to keep one copy. We are going to keep one copy in which file? Current file or permanent file? That also we are going. So what is current file and permanent file? We are going to talk about it. But very quickly, can we look at it? So ask yourself. Now, I'm going back to it, and I am going to ask you a lot of questions. All right, a lot of questions. First, financial statement. What all does it comprise of? If you want to type and let me know, good. In case you don't want to type, you want to speak out at your end, that is perfectly fine. So it comprises of the balance sheet, income statement, statement of cash flow, and statement of changes in equity. Very specific. We are going to mention all of it in our engagement letter. Then our responsibility is a very, very important paragraph. I want all of you to remember. Again, our responsibility is to prepare the financial statement in accordance with what? The financial reporting framework that the company has decided, because selection was the company's job. All right. And we are going to do it in accordance with SSARS. Now, SSARS, who issued? Suppose you are sitting in Japan and reading about SSARS, you will be like, SSARS, what is that? So it has to be very, very clear. So SSARS promulgated by the Accounting and Service Review Service Committee of the AICPA, and compliance with AICPA Professional Code of Conduct. So a lot of responsibility is on us. We have to follow AICPA, which is issued by the Accounting and Review Services Committee. We are also required to follow the Code of Professional Conduct, to be ethical and to be competent, to be disciplined, to be objective, maintaining integrity. All that is required in the Code of Conduct. We are not required. Very, very specific. We are not required. And to make put all the more stress, I'm also telling we are not required and we will not. Let's be very specific. We are not required and will not verify accuracy, completeness of the information that you have provided. All right. We are not expressing an opinion. We are not expressing a conclusion. We are not providing any assurance. I want you to remember these three words. We are not expressing an opinion. We are not providing a conclusion, or we are not providing any kind of assurance. We are not going to be looking into any fraud or error, or identify, disclose any wrongdoings. We are not going to identify also, and we are not going to disclose also. So we are not going to identify or disclose any wrongdoing. Management responsibility is very, very simple. And this is engagement letter for preparation engagement. Will you remember all the points? Can I have a yes, no? Read it multiple times. Don't try to memorize. Read it multiple times. Ask yourself questions. The more the question that you ask yourself, the more clarity is going to come your way. All right. Keep asking a lot of questions while just traveling, while doing something. Just look at it, Is it covered in the first paragraph? Is it covered in the second paragraph? Which paragraph comes first? Question can be that silly. Answer my question. Which paragraph comes first? Accountant's responsibility or management's responsibility? The question can be that bad. In exam, I have seen lot of such kind of questions. So in case you forget, first comes accountant, A, then comes M, right? First comes accountant. So it is accountant's responsibility and then comes management's responsibility. How to remember? Just remember whatever accountant has said that we are not going to do, we are not going to do, we are not going to do. The management has to say that it is my responsibility, it is my responsibility, it is my responsibility. So it's like both are talking to each other here. All right, both are talking to each other. Remember, like that you will be able to connect both the points. Let's go on to the next one. Preparation requirement. This is very simple and these are common across preparation, compilation and review. So you don't have to read it multiple times. Poses first one, requirements. When I'm getting an assignment for preparation, do I need to have a knowledge of that prerequisite? Is it a prerequisite to have a knowledge of that financial reporting framework? Yes, no. So it is not a prerequisite. I have got a client, I have got the preparation engagement, I can acquire, I must acquire that knowledge. How can I acquire? I can acquire through reading, through research, through lot more other work. So this does not prevent an accountant from having a client with which we have no previous experience. However, the accountant is responsible for gaining the required level of knowledge. They are responsible that they must acquire that knowledge. Otherwise, how are you going to perform the service? Prepare the financial statement. The accountant should prepare based on what? Based on the records, documents, or explanations and other information provided by the management. So whatever you are going to provide, we are going to use that. We are not going to look into the accuracy. We are not going to look into the completeness. We are not going to look into fraud, non-compliance with laws. Nothing we are going to look at. In fact, we have mentioned very, very specifically. Now, like I said, users are very innocent. Now, how will users know whether this financial statement is audited, whether this is reviewed, whether this is only prepared or compiled? Okay, in preparation engagement, the challenge is we are not providing any report. So it's just going to be balance sheet, income statement, statement of cash flow, and that's it. Now you are thinking that, the person who's reading, he will be able to distinguish what is SSARS, what is SAS, what is PCOB. No, come on, he does not or she does not know any of it. And I don't want him to guess or judge or confuse. I want it to be very, very clear. So what do I do? Is there a report where I can mention, no, all these I have not done? Answer is no, there is no report in preparation. Is there any other document which I can attach with the financial statement and say, no, all these I have not done? No, all that is again not there. Then how do I tell the users very specifically what I have done? So the answer lies in this paragraph, where in each page of the financial statement, in each page of every document that I have prepared, I am going to mention what. So let's read that. The accountant should ensure that the statement is included on each page of the financial statement, indicating no assurance is provided. So I'm going to mention on each page because there's no report, right? So on each page, below the page, I'm going to write no assurance is provided on the financial statement. The accountant or accountant firm name is not required, because many times if you see a balance sheet and on top some CPA name is written or some chartered accountant name is written, by default an innocent person can conclude that this is CA report, means audited report. That's how we look at, when CA is written, we may confuse that it is an audited report. We don't know what, normal person may not know what are the rules, regulations around audit. So it says, no, firm's name is also not required. Keep it on a plain paper. All right, to be included in the prepared financial statement. Examples of some such statement that would be placed on each page of the financial statement include no assurance is provided on these financial statements. Clearly mentioned below, no assurance provided, something like this, no assurance provided. All right, no assurance provided, like that. Financial statement have not been subjected to audit, review, or compilation engagement, and no assurance is provided on them. So like this, we need to mention on each page of the financial statement. There's no auditors, there's no CPA letterhead will be there. Firm's name, all that is not required. Plain paper where we are mentioning very clearly, no assurance is provided. We have not subjected, the financial statement have not been subjected to audit, review, or compilation engagement, and we do not provide any assurance. Let's be very, very, very specific on each page of the financial statement. Will you remember this? Again, very, very, very important from exam point of view. Very, very important from exam point of view. Now you will remember, because we have not talked about compilation, we have not talked about review, because review and compilation has some additional or some other requirement. By the time we talk about review, compilation and review, you'll be confused which SSARS engagement required us to mention no assurance provided. All that confusion will happen. So I want you to be very clear. That's why I'm telling you the logic, why it is like that. In other engagements, there is a report also. So I can mention something in the report, right? But here there is no report. That's why on each page, I need to mention it. If the accountant is unable to include the statement, the management is telling, no, please don't put this line, or for some reason, I'm not able to put this statement on each page, then what? Management is requesting me, management is, blackmailing me, torturing me, convincing me. Lot of ways, management can do. So in that case, what do I do? Issue a disclaimer. Now, I am sure you are able to connect. Issue a disclaimer. What is a disclaimer? I'm going to issue kind of a warning, you can say, in simple words. We'll talk about disclaimer at length, but for now, just kind of a warning to the users that no assurance is provided. Let me take you back once again. Issue a disclaimer that makes no assurance is provided. You remember somewhere we were talking about disclaimer. If the accountant expects to issue a disclaimer instead of the preceding paragraph, the following may be added. As part of our engagement, we will issue a disclaimer that will state that the financial statement were not subjected to audit or review or compilation engagement. Means I am mentioning in the engagement letter only that I will issue a disclaimer. When if you don't allow me to write on each page, no assurance is provided, I may issue a disclaimer. So I'm making the management agree to this at the very beginning and then asking them to sign, because many times it may happen that the company says that please don't write it. Then in that case, I have made them agree that in case any of such thing happens, I will issue a disclaimer. I have made them agree in my engagement letter only. So issue a disclaimer that no assurance is provided on the financial statement and perform a compilation engagement. So in case you are not allowing me to write, no assurance is provided, okay, fine. I will not continue with the preparation engagement. I will change it into compilation engagement. All right, because in compilation engagement, I have to issue a report. In the report, I will mention. So first option, I'm going to issue a disclaimer, create a warning. Fine. What warning? That no assurance is provided, very clearly mentioned in the disclaimer. Second, I will not continue with preparation. I will convert this into preparation. Is it? No. After preparation, what comes? So compilation engagement. Or remember, these are all one of the options I'm going to choose. Or withdraw from the engagement and inform the management reasons for withdrawing. Remember, whenever I'm withdrawing from any engagement, it is a professional. It's not like, breakup has happened with my girl. That, okay, yeah, breakup happened, now we are not talking at all. She also does not know. I also don't know why we broke up. It's not like that. It's a professional relationship. I need to inform the client why I am withdrawing. Otherwise, I can't keep it gray, right? I have to make it black and white. This is what you did, and because of this reason, I'm going to withdraw. Remember, wherever it mentions that the accountant or the auditor can withdraw, it is implied to understand that he must or she must give the reasons in writing for withdrawal. What are the reasons? Inform the management. What are the reasons for withdrawal? All right. So sample report, disclaimer on preparation of the financial statement. So I'm going to disclaim the accompanying financial statement of XYZ as of for the year ended were not subjected to audit, review, or compilation engagement, and we do not express an opinion, conclusion, nor do we provide an assurance on them. This is the disclaimer on financial statement. So we write on every page, assurance is not provided, all that we write, or we convert into which one? So after preparation, we convert this into compilation, or we write withdraw. When we write a disclaimer, what are the contents of the disclaimer? So this is the draft content of the disclaimer that we have issued. Very specific. Any confusion after this that the reader will have? No confusion at all. There's no opinion, there's no conclusion, there's no assurance at all on any of them. Next comes other preparation consideration. Now we have read the engagement letter. We have read the report, how the report is going to report. No, not report. How the financial statement will be, presented. No CPA letterhead, no such description, no assurance provided, all that is mentioned. Once we have understood that, then all these are very, very simple because it's all interconnected. You don't have to spend additional time just to try understanding this. Let's see if we remember all of this. We have looked into all of this. Let's see if we remember all of this. So, financial statement prepared with a special purpose framework. Who's going to decide this framework? Management. All right, management has to decide. We need to mention the description of the framework. Sitting here, we understand US GAAP, we understand Ind AS, but there may be many other frameworks that we don't understand. So there should be description about that framework. There should be origin of the framework, and it should be mentioned on the face of the financial statement or in the note of the financial statement. What? The reporting framework and its description. Inaccurate or incomplete financial statement, we are not required to look into any kind of inaccuracy or accuracy. That's not our job. We are not going to verify, we are not going to corroborate, we are not going to review the financial statement. That is not our job at all. But if the accountant prepares a financial statement that contains a known departure, we are aware. All right, we are not required to find out, but suppose in the process we become aware of such information, then what? Then the responsibility comes, at least it comes on us. So if it is a known departure or departures from the applicable financial reporting framework, the accountant should disclose. But client is telling, no, please don't write it, it will create a lot of trouble for us, please don't write it. Somewhere they are trying to discourage us from doing. When I got to know there is something wrong, I have only one more option left for me. What? Don't associate with such client. Don't associate your name with such client. Withdraw from the financial statement. The moment we are withdrawing, do we have to communicate the reasons for withdrawal? Answer is always yes. So I need to tell them the reasons why I am withdrawing. Fine. Remember, this is not our job, but in the process of preparation, I got to know about something that is wrong. Then I am going to disclose it, or if it is not agreed, then I am going to withdraw from the engagement. Financial statement that omits substantially all disclosures. Remember, disclosures, is it part of the financial statement? Answer is very much yes. It is very much part of the financial statement. But sometimes financial statement is prepared for a specific objective. What can be the objective? Objective that I need to submit to the bank. Bank has asked me financial statement. I have given the financial statement. Their disclosures is not very important, that disclosure should be there. In normal audit, without disclosure, financial statement does not make any sense at all. But I'm not talking about audit here. I'm talking about just a preparation. Bank has asked me, get me a your balance sheet, your income statement. So I'm just going to submit the balance sheet, income statement. Disclosures is not so important. Bank never asked. If they asked, then I may, attach disclosures as well. But I don't want to. But my objective or reason for not wanting to is not to create or do any kind of fraud or any kind of mismanagement. No, that's not my objective. That's a practice maybe. Then in that case, can I prepare a financial statement which does not have any disclosure? Answer is yes, you can. But you have to be conscious that the objective of that request is not to do any kind of fraud. That is your job. If requested by the client, the accountant may prepare that omits substantially all the disclosures required by the applicable financial reporting framework, but are otherwise in conformity with the financial reporting. Everything is fine. Financial statement complies with the, complies with all the gap requirement, but just that disclosure is not attached there. In that case, what do we do? So it says, fine, no problem. We can still prepare the financial statement. Provided the accountant discloses such omission, either in the financial statement or in the accompanying disclaimer. So on the financial statement, we are mentioning no assurance provided. We also mention that we have omitted the disclosures. Such financial statement would not be misleading to the users. So I can do that provided two conditions are satisfied. First is I will disclose that omission. Second, it should not be misleading to the users. Then I can prepare a financial statement without any disclosures also. If the accountant concludes that limited disclosures is acceptable and if the financial statement include only limited notes, the notes may be labeled as selected information which is provided. Substantially all disclosures required by the R financial reporting framework are not included. Remember, you cannot be selective when it comes to financial statement. You cannot provide only things which you think looks good. You have to provide them with every information. You can't be, I will be very selective. No. You remember we talked about independence of the accountant. If independence is not there, he needs to mention that we are not independent. No need to provide reasons. But in case reasons are being provided, all the reasons should be provided. You can't be selective in providing reasons. Provide either all or do not mention any reason. Just say, I am not independent. Answer my question. Independence not required. For which one? Preparation, compilation, review. For which one independence is not required? So it is only and only for preparation. For compilation and review, independence is very much required. In fact, for compilation, independence is very much required. No. Independence is not mandatory. In case you are not independent, that fact should be mentioned in compilation. But can you agree for a compilation engagement without being independent? Answer is very much yes. Right? You remember implicitly, explicitly. Yes, remember that point. Documentation in the preparation engagement. Documentation provides support. Remember this point, very important. We are providing in audit, we call it audit working papers, right? Here we are calling it documentation. Same like working papers. In case there are some working papers, there are some documents that I found it important to be maintained at my end. Why do I maintain those records? Because you remember in our responsibility section, there were many clauses, there were many points that we as an accountant has to comply with. You remember one point where I declared that it is our responsibility to prepare the financial statement and comply with SSARS requirement. How do I prove that I had complied with? Documentation.